It's true that crime investigators are faced with hundreds of unsolved cases, each with a secret history full of untold stories waiting to be solved. Some true crime stories are so dark and disturbing that their backstories still give crime scene investigators chills years later, long after the case has been closed. Number 5. On November 3rd, 2015, Deanne Hastings attended the first day of class at the Glendale Beauty Academy in Spokane, Washington. After orientation, she headed back to the home that she shared with her boyfriend, Mike Tibbetts, and left a note saying that she was out running errands and that she had enjoyed her first day. Hours passed and Mike began to worry about Deanne. It was the beginning of a dark and disturbing true crime story. Diagnosed with bipolar disorder, Deanne had been through several manic episodes during the darkest moments of her life. When Deanne failed to return home by the next morning, everyone was worried. She had a history of disappearing for a few days at a time, but when her car was found abandoned in a parking lot 3 days later, it looked like a possible crime scene. Disturbingly, Deanne's phone and purse were found inside the car, but there was no sign of her. The Spokane Police Department was made aware of Deanne's disappearance. They found some troubling CCTV footage with a disturbing backstory. Deanne was seen in the company of her friend Randy Riley, along with a third unknown person. Randy was later arrested and charged with stealing and using Deanne's credit cards, but would tell criminal investigators that he wasn't responsible for her unsolved disappearance. If Randy's story is true, then Deanne was inebriated, and after an angry chat, he had left her on the South Inland Empire Way. The next day, he found her wallet inside of a coat along the side of the road and used the credit cards inside. There were several other witness reports of Deanne in that area, including testimony from a shop owner who claimed Deanne had run into the shop to say she had been kidnapped and was begging for help. Since 2015, Deanne's case remains unsolved, and investigators are desperately trying to discern the true story behind this frightening unsolved mystery. Deanne Hastings Kreider is described as a white female with brown hair, brown eyes, 5'4" and 120 pounds. She has several tattoos as well. Anyone with information on this scary unsolved mystery is asked to contact Detective Jeffrey Barrington of the Spokane Police Department on 509-625-4100, quoting case number 15389799. Number 4. This is the true crime story of 36-year-old Nancy Corrine Moyer, loving mother of 2 children, separated from her husband Bill Moyer, and well-respected as a financial analyst at the State Department of Ecology in Lacey, Washington. On March 8, 2009, Bill Moyer took his 2 children back to their mother's house after spending the weekend with them. Her car was in the driveway and the front door was slightly ajar, but she was not home. A half-empty glass of wine was still on the coffee table, and all of her personal items, including keys and purse, were inside. Bill immediately called the Thurston County Sheriff's Office to report his estranged wife missing. Multiple searches were conducted and the unsolved case soon went cold. In 2019, Nancy's former neighbor and coworker, Eric Lee Roberts, told the Thurston County Sheriff's Department that he was the criminal responsible for what had happened to Nancy. He had a dark and disturbing untold story to share with investigators. In the weeks after her disappearance, he poured a large slab of concrete in his backyard, and many believed that Nancy was buried beneath. Eric was arrested, and a full search of his property yielded no sign of Nancy. Without any solid evidence, investigators were forced to drop the criminal charges against him. The disappearance of Nancy Moyer remains one of Washington's most bizarre true crime stories, and without any real evidence, the case has quickly run cold. Nancy Moyer is described as a white female with dark brown hair, brown eyes, 4'11" to 5 feet, and 105 to 120 pounds. She has multiple tattoos as well. Anyone with information is asked to contact Detective Bill Elkins of the Thurston County Sheriff's Office at 360-786-5500, quoting case number 091523. Number 3. In August of 1999, 31-year-old Cynthia Reardon was due to marry her fiancé, joining the two together and creating a blended family, including Cynthia's son. In the summer of 1999, Cynthia's dress was ready and waiting for her, but unfortunately, she would never get to wear it down the aisle. Cynthia's unsolved case has quickly become one of Monroe's most disturbing true crime stories. Cindy, her fiancé, and her son lived at the Monroe Motel, where she had also found work as a housekeeper. On the evening of June 20th, 1999, Cindy left her room at the Monroe Motel and headed out to the Hayloft Tavern, just a short walk away. At around 11:30 p.m., witnesses at the tavern recalled seeing Cindy leaving, although there's much contention as to whether she was truly alone. This would be the last time that Cindy was ever seen or heard from again, and when she failed to return home the next morning, she was reported as a missing person. Multiple searches for Cindy were conducted, with her family joining in wherever they could. Unfortunately, in February of 2000, Cindy's remains were discovered in a marshy area around 7 miles from the Hayloft Tavern. The remains were identified days later, and forensic investigators revealed that they believed Cindy had met with foul play. The only forensic clue found in Cindy's case was not released until many years after her body was discovered, most likely to maintain the integrity of the case. Investigators appealed to the public for more information about these fabric scraps that were found with Cindy. The fabric did not belong to her, and investigators hope that it may hold the key to solving this unsolved mystery. Anyone with information to add to this dark and disturbing true crime story is asked to contact the Monroe Police Department at 360-794-6300. Number 2. 21-year-old Darlene Conklin was last seen leaving her home in Muncie, New York on April 19, 1981. At the time of her disappearance, Darlene lived with her boyfriend, Stephen Zanyi, and he would tell criminal investigators that it wasn't unusual for Darlene to go off for long periods at a time. Darlene's disappearance wouldn't be noted until some months later, when her mother reported her missing after she stopped receiving phone calls. The local police department responded to the missing person report and began searching for Darlene, first investigating at her home off of Route 59 and 306 in Muncie, New York. The police also learned that Darlene liked to spend a lot of time at a nearby beach in Haverstraw, though no forensic evidence was found. Darlene's boyfriend, Stephen, didn't report her missing, and investigators still believe he may be a possible suspect in her strange disappearance. Stephen would later tell criminal investigators that it wasn't uncommon for his girlfriend to go off for long periods. But in April of 1981, she simply left and never came back. In the weeks and months following Darlene's disappearance, the police department received several tips of possible remains. However, nothing ever came of them. Investigators continued to search for Darlene and hope that new information or evidence will come to light. Darlene Ellen Conklin is described as a white female with brown hair, green eyes, 5'8", and 110 to 130 pounds. Anyone with information pertaining to her unsolved case is asked to contact the local police department at 845-357-2400, quoting case number 1037970. Number 1. The true crime story of 46-year-old Robert Mayer begins with an unsolved disappearance at work on June 13, 2013. Robert awoke at 4:30 a.m. as normal and headed out to his first sight of the day at Fort Greene, Brooklyn. Robert continued working until around 9 a.m., at which point he talked to his wife, Ida, about upcoming plans. Ida thought Robert was in a good mood. When Robert failed to return home, Ida contacted the Suffolk County Police Department. According to reports, CCTV cameras captured Robert at the Arrow Scrapyard in West Babylon, New York, at around 2:15 p.m. that day. Just 30 minutes later, he would vanish into thin air. Video captured by a neighbor's camera shows Robert arriving at his house at 2:41 p.m. At 2:51 p.m., Robert gets back into his car and leaves. After this, he disappears into thin air and hasn't been seen or heard from since. A day later, on June 15, 2013, Robert's car was found abandoned near the Long Island Railroad Deer Park station. Crime scene investigators also discovered that Robert had left his phone, wallet, and cash behind at home, and the only thing missing were his car keys. Since his disappearance, there have been a few updates on this unsolved case, and the family is desperate to answer this mystery once and for all. Those who knew him described Robert as a hard-working and dedicated family man who ensured that his family was well taken care of. Hopefully, a true story pertaining to his unsolved disappearance is found so investigators can give his family the closure they need. Robert Mayer is described as a white male with brown hair, green eyes, 6 foot to 6'1", and 200 to 210 pounds. He was last seen wearing a gray polo shirt with JG Electrical on it, light blue jeans, Ray-Bans, work boots, and a gold wedding band. Anyone with information pertaining to his unsolved case is asked to contact Detective Jason Paglino of the Suffolk County Police Department at 631-854-8243, quoting case number 1336878. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But my name is Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.